Hurts my eyes.
It does, but your orange skin hurts our eyes.
Yes. Well, yes. It's radiance.
You look like Morph. What are you on about?
Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. As always, you're here with me, Consummation Sam.
And me, Shreya.
And today we are going to be talking about Terri Hoffman and the Black Knights. Now, this is a little bit culty. Well, it's not a little bit. It is just proper full-on cult. And it's a rabbit hole. So this is going to actually be 3 parts. So anyway, before we get into it, we all know that the algorithm is a mythical beast that we need to feed it with subscribers and likes. So please, if you would like and subscribe, we would be very appreciative because it'll push us up the algorithm. We'll get open to more viewers and hopefully one day we'll be able to retire.
And keep entertaining people.
Not that bothered about that. I just want to retire. But yeah, and as well, we do have the website, which is all our blogs. I've got a few coming up, so hopefully we'll be releasing some new stuff over there. But as always, it has our podcast embedded on there, and that is the mopodcast.co.uk. So go over, have a look on there, and you can always like the articles if you like them, which I hope you do.
And comment saying they're shit if you don't.
Yeah, prefer not to have that because I am a delicate soul and don't take negativity well, so please don't.
I call you a prick at least 4 times a week.
Oh, yeah, I mean, from you I can take it, but strangers on the internet,
All right,
I mean,
okay.
that would really break me. People I don't know calling me a prick is just far too much.
No idea you were so sensitive.
Yeah. So, I mean, if that gives anyone out there ammunition to write some comments on this one, then shit. May have messed up. So we'll dive right into this, and it's a tale as old as time. Girl meets boy, girl starts cult, girl marries boy, boy decides girl is a bit wobbly mentally, wants out the cult of marriage, boy dies, girl is sole beneficiary of boy's will. We've all been there, I'm sure, at some point in our lives.
What can I say? We love the cash.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Terri Hoffman has been there so many times, even in the world of cults, she is kind of treated as a suspicious person. If you can believe
That's bad.
it. Yeah,
When
exactly.
you're a suspicious cult leader. More suspicious when the other cult leaders are going like, oh,
Yeah.
this dodgy bitch.
She's a right one, her. Fucking hell. Terri Lee Hoffman was born in 1938, and by the age of 9, she was sent to a Lutheran orphanage. Now, 2 years later, she would be adopted and take on the name of Terri Lee Benson. This would be the first of 5 surnames that she would take on over the course of her life. So,
Through marriage or just for the crack?
through marriage.
All right, okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Hoffman was born into poverty in Dallas, Texas, and she'd experienced a lot of hardships during her young life. Her father was an alcoholic and her mother was riddled with tuberculosis, and due to the family's poverty, they lived well below the breadline, and she was bullied at school because of her raggedy clothes and because they had no money, basically.
That's not nice.
No, it's really not. But she didn't I don't want to say this in a way, but she really didn't help herself, because at the age of 4, she claimed to have a vision of 3 men in splendid robes telling her that she can be anything that she wanted to be, if only she wanted it badly enough.
They weren't offering her gold, frankincense, and myrrh, were they?
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of living in a trailer, and her dad was an alcoholic and all the things that go along with that, so maybe she just got into a stash,
I mean, Jesus' dad was a chippy.
He just...
If you're not counting in God.
Stepdad,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was, dad.
I mean, you can't, like... It's one of them things. Imagine being in the playground. You know when you used to be like, my dad's harder than your dad. Like, if your dad was God, you would just kind of go... I'm not even going to come back with that.
I mean, you'd turn...
Because my dad will strike you the fuck down right now.
Yeah, I mean, you'd turn the other cheek, wouldn't you, really? Which was part of his teaching, I believe. So, these visions also told her that when she was troubled, she should think about God. And she must have thought about him a hell of a lot, because she seemed a little bit troubled. After Hoffman entered into the orphanage, a Lutheran nun told her about the elements earth, wind, and fire. Now, not the band, obviously.
I was going to say, good band.
Yeah. I think because this was in the 50s, so it's a little bit before their time. Do you know what I mean? They weren't singing about September by this point. So, the nun also explained reincarnation, but whether Hoffman went to corrupt this meaning, or this is what the nun outright said, it's a little bit hard to discern. But basically, Hoffman would go on in later life to describe reincarnation as good people go to heaven and bad people, which she thought bad people were people that die in natural disasters. They deserved it and would be reborn on Earth into another shitty life. So until you kind of turned your life around and you lived a good life, you would be...
Which, yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
That's a common theme in reincarnation theory. But bad people die in natural disasters.
Yes, this is what she said. She said, we can be sure that the people who have been killed in volcanic eruptions and dire catastrophes have deserved these violent deaths, and that they have been reborn in those places to fulfill their destiny. They reaped as they sowed in past lives.
What about the people that are absolute shitheads that are still alive? Ain't no volcano erupted on them, no building toppled down on them.
Exactly. Now,
Myra Hindley's still alive, so's Rose West.
Exactly. So, Myra Hindley's not alive, but let's skirt over.
Oh, yeah, no, she died last year, yeah. But Rose West is still alive, okay.
Yeah, indeed.
So, flaw in your theory already.
Exactly. There's a massive flaw in the theory here, because the 3,300 people who died in the earthquake in Tibet of 1959, which was during her lifetime. Now, Tibet is one of the most holiest places in the world, isn't it? Like, did they deserve all to die?
I mean, I bet there were a couple of shitheads within there.
Without a shadow of a doubt, but
all of them?
3,300, yeah. And as well, like, the tsunami in 2011 killed 15,500 people. Now, nearly 80% of Japanese people practiced Shinto at the time, which is their religion. So 80% of people were following a religion. Now, let's just put that on the flip side. During that 2011, the US only had 809 deaths from natural disasters that year. So I think we can see which kind of people that she meant needed to die in natural disasters. The ones in other lands, the ones that look different from her, I think, is...
So she was a raging bigot.
Yes, so I mean, most of them are. So I think that's what she was kind of edging towards. Now, the nun also told Hoffman that she could read the Ashak records through meditation. These records were heavily based in spiritualism and held all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intents that have ever been or ever will be.
And she can read it. That's convenient. Okay.
Yeah. Bearing in mind this was told to her at the age of 9, maybe she kind of got ahead of herself with this one. And obviously, because these records are in the spiritual plane, they're not written down anywhere. Who knows? Who knows if she can read them or not? She could just be...
might have made it up.
making stuff up. Like, We'll go on to see that she made quite a lot of stuff up.
As most cult leaders do.
Yeah. And while at the orphanage, Hoffman also convinced herself that she was the reincarnation of Saint Teresa of Avila, who was a Roman Catholic saint and mystic. So, I mean, this is a pretty big play for a 9-year-old to be coming down with all this. So, fair enough, she's setting out a stall straight away from day one and going, aim big.
She's been reading the Bible hard.
Yeah. In fairness, she was stuck in a fucking religious orphanage, so I don't think they had much stuff to do outside of reading the Bible. But still, like, pogs a thing back then.
In the 50s, I don't think so.
Yeah. Cup and ball. They must have had a cup and ball. Jesus.
Them big wheel things with the stick attached to that you've got to keep spinning and spinning and spinning.
Yeah, hoop.
I see that, me bingo wings.
Hoop and a stick.
I was doing spinning.
Don't see nothing. That's going on OnlyFans.
Hey, there's an audience for everyone.
It certainly is. So, 4 years after this revelation, when she thought she was Saint fucking Teresa, she was busted out of the orphanage with a Dallas's couple help. Hoffman was adopted by this couple, and a year later she found herself married to John Wilder, an 18-year-old truck driver.
And how old was she?
Yeah, so if anyone's keeping score, she was 15 years old at this point. She was also
50s though, innit? Everything went in the 50s.
Exactly. 18 months later, she was pregnant. So, yeah. Now...
To be fair, it could have been worse. 18 is not that much of a significant difference to 15 in terms of, like, years. Like, it could have been, like, a 45-year-old truckie.
It is very true. And to be quite honest with you, Hoffman is the reincarnation of Saint Teresa of Avila, so she is quite old in the soul.
That's true. Really, she got herself a toy boy.
Yeah, that's what every paedophile says. She's got an old soul. I broke it last night, but so they travelled across state lines and lied about their ages on the marriage certificate. Now, for some reason, both of them inflated their ages by 4 years, not just Hoffman. Don't know why.
What was the legal age limit to be married? It was 18, wasn't it?
Yes, it was 18, but they wanted to appear older than 18 in case they got questioned, which is, when someone's wearing a school uniform, I don't understand how you try to do that. She's still got braces on and shit, but...
That's the thing, though. You can say that you, like... I could say I was 15, but I don't look 15. So I could also, with that logic, say I was 78. But I also don't look 78. Usually when people say that... Well, fuck you very hard. Usually when people say, like, I don't know, I'm 25, if they look 15, they're going to get ID'd. Whereas if you just say, I'm 18, or you just dress older, no one's going to ask any questions.
I
just look older.
100% agree, but again, 50s and Texas. So,
No forward thinking.
Yeah, but so the saying goes, marry in haste and repent at leisure. And she had quite a lot of leisure time because after 18 years of marriage to John, Hoffman initiated divorce proceedings. Now, rather than receive her decree nisi, she actually got sectioned and thrown into Parkland Hospital to be subjected to a psychiatric evaluation.
She must have needed it.
So this was done by Wilder, he signed the papers, and Hoffman's adoptive mother. So
Wait, was there a... They weren't... There wasn't
no,
a...
no.
They were just both of the same frame of mind.
Yeah, and it'll come.
Okay.
It will. Ooh. You'll see why they both thought she needed someone to talk to, because she started a cult and received a lot of money from people who died.
It's always a good sign. You need to talk to somebody when you start a cult.
Yeah. So this was done because she posed a substantial risk of causing serious harm to herself or others, which is what her husband and what Wilder and Hoffman's adoptive mother said. But by March 23rd, 1971, she was divorced from Wilder. And although she lost custody of her 2 children, by July of the same year, she was remarried.
Well, you know, they always say the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else.
Yeah, and Hoffman does that quite regularly through this.
I mean, they do say it's the best way, so she'd just be taking the advice.
She's just living her best life. That's all she's doing. So we'll get into that later. But while Hoffman was married to Wilder, and part of the maybe not part of the reason, but why it came to a head and she ended up in hospital was because she got into meditation, hypnotism, and something called the silver mind control. Now this is basically remembering stuff.
Right, okay.
I could write a whole fucking episode on this bullshit, right? I bought the book, but it's an audio book.
Why do you do this to yourself?
Because I heard it and I thought, you know what? If this is it, not because it could change my life, but meditation and try to make yourself better, which is kind of what it sells itself as. And I had a free credit on Audible, so I used it.
Thought there was something more to it.
But literally, in the prologue, one of the instances he uses is, John is a marketing manager at work. He comes to the day of the big presentation, and he doesn't know where his presentation is. He asks his secretary, he asks this person, no one knows. So he goes and sits in his office and reflects. He remembers the day before he went out after work. He went to a bar. He took his took his work briefcase. He remembers he didn't come home with his work briefcase. He rings the bar. His work briefcase is there. This is a silver mind control. It's like he's just remembering stuff.
As in control of your own mind.
So, yeah, it is pretty terrible. So it's a very misleading title because it should be called Control Over Your Mind, because it's about...
Yeah, it makes it sound like some Jedi bullshit.
Yeah, but Silver also claims that he taught several children ESP and clairvoyancy. He had a school for this shit. Apparently, as well, just to kick him while he's down, he owned one of the biggest repair shops in wherever he lived. I think it's Chile. But he owned one of the biggest repair shops, and he decided to do this rather than use that money. It's just fucking
clearly he had too much money.
Yeah. too much time. But
this whole mind control thing. So I mean, this is something that all women are born with. We literally remember every single shitty thing that you guys do to us, because if we don't remember, then we can't use it against you for the rest of our lives.
well, exactly. There's document in it, really.
So we're already built with this.
Yeah.
I could start my own cult tomorrow and say, hey, we're all patrons of silver mind control, so
Go out and buy it. Yeah.
join up.
You
We'll tell you. We'll show you how to do it, and then we'll just keep getting women to sign up, and then go.
Remember, it works.
It's what
works.
you've been doing.
yeah, it really works. This I remember. Fucking hell.
Now here's the thing. Now we just have to go and con as many men as we can into marrying us, make us the sole beneficiary, and then it would be awful if they had a terrible fall.
Yeah.
A fatal one. Terrible.
So
It's all for the good of the cult.
indeed. Long live the cult. At the beginning of her spiritual journey and spouting these philosophies to anyone that would listen, Hoffman claimed that she helped a young man end his drug habit. And on the ex-junkie's recommendation, she started to teach meditation to high school kids in the 60s.
But on a junkie's recommendation.
Yeah, so apparently this is what Hoffman has said. Like, he was so thankful that because she mind controlled him into getting off drugs, he was like, you should teach this shit to other people. So because it was the 60s and it was a counterculture revolution, she decided to teach high school children about this, which a wild stab in the dark, but any high school child who is rebelling against the system really wants to hear something different that's not mainstream, that they can stand up to, and they would be saying, oh wow, she's got it, she knows everything, kind of thing, with their teacher. But by the late 60s, she'd gained a following, and after her divorce, Hoffman set up Conscious Development of Body and Mind. This was in 1974. By this time, she started charging for her lessons and private consultations. She had also started up a jewellery business and would sell these trinkets in and around Dallas at fairs and spiritual gatherings.
I will teach you how to control your mind and unleash your inner silver mind control. I also have an Etsy store at www.etsy.co.uk/join us.
Yeah. It literally is like the like and subscribe bit that we've just done. Try to put it in there before, like, we'll put you up, then throw it in there, and then move on quickly so you've not noticed, and hopefully you'll do it. But amazingly enough, the higher the value of this jewellery, the more protection it would afford you, and the better it would help you in your spiritual life.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, that's cult 101 there, isn't it? Come on, man. Jesus.
You pay for peanuts, you get shit.
Exactly. By the mid-70s, hundreds of people would take part in her teachings, and she grew massive. She'd be travelling around constantly doing these seminars, taking classes. She would be earning well off this. But she would go on to explain to her students that death wasn't necessarily the end, explaining it in the way that there could always be another chance to have a fresh start, which kind of sets up for later.
There's always another chance to have a fresh start, and she believes in reincarnation, but only people who are shitheads get reincarnated. So the way to have a fresh start is to do something horrible.
Is to be a shithead, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's very convoluted. But she also taught members that any critical thoughts or energies could affect them, and then they were to stay clear of these, because regardless where these came from. So she's basically telling high school students that if your friend or your boyfriend at that time is saying, "Oh, your bum looks big in that," cut them out your life straight away, because they are giving you bad vibes, they are negative energy, and you don't need that shit in your life.
I mean, that's fair.
It is fair, but it's dependent on what the negative energy is. It's not necessarily a criticism, but it's what she considers to be a criticism. So we'll do it again and go, if someone said, Terri Hoffman's a bit fucking out there, isn't she? That's a criticism. Cut them out your life. You don't need them in your life. You just need to listen to me, and I will tell you exactly what you need to know and how you need to know it, and pay me money. So...
Emotional abuse.
Yeah. And it didn't even matter if these people were claimed to be soulmates, because only Hoffman knew who your soulmate would be.
I've read it in my book on the spiritual plane.
Exactly, because she had access to every thought, action that's ever been, ever will be. She's like fucking Thanos, or do you know what she's like? Some fucking...
Oh God.
Yeah, some level X mutant or something that knows everything.
Isn't that a bit blasphemous? Presuming that she knows pretty much as God does. Is it? And she's religious.
Yeah.
Or was religious. Is that not kind of blasphemous?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like God, but better.
I mean, but this is what cults do. Let's look at the cult of the Donald Trump. Like, people are saying, like,
the cult of the Donald Trump. I've never heard of that one.
Yeah. The people that believe in him are saying that he is the next coming of Jesus Christ. Like, there's a lot of preachers out there who are saying this, and only God can depose him from office. This is why they all went mental last year.
I think you're a Trump supporter.
Oh no, seriously, no. Like,
no, I think you are. You deliberately went for the same skin tone.
He has his good points and his bad points, right? Just saying. Everyone does. I mean, Hitler had a cute moustache. Anyway...
well, you've grown yours out a little bit too long if you were going for the Hitler tash. No, there's always next week. It's fine. You can more orange up and shave
Part 2,
around.
I'll be like that. Anyway, that's getting edited.
The Donald Trump Hitler cult.
So... this was one of the reasons. So if anyone said a bad thing about anything, Terri wanted them to cut you out of their lives. Now, this was one of the things that Wilder, her husband, had issues with, because he was seeing her telling high school kids to get rid of that person when they're just embarking on their lives. They've not got enough life experience yet. They'll learn that and know when, but if someone's telling you, you're just kind of going to follow their direction from then on and then on. And Wilder was kind of like, they should just live their own lives, get their own life experiences, and you learn by doing, which is what we all do. Now, Hoffman was viewed by some people in her congregation as a Jebus-like figure, with some outright stating that fact and handing over all their expensive stuff to her. Now,
of course they did.
This was another point of contention for Wilder, and he told one disciple, Sandy Cleaver, she's got a lot to do with this story, but that's later, to take back the jewellery that she'd given to Hoffman, yet she got on her knees and begged me to let her have it.
I bet she did.
Yeah, and I bet he was like, "Ooh, okay, she could have it." One person, I'm sorry, Chris, John Wilder, if you're still here with us, please don't see me. One person.
That's the only thing he'll ever see when he closes his eyes to go to sleep every fucking night, is that fucking face be like, oh, why can't I just die?
So
The rest
one
of us be feeling it, surely.
well, yeah. One person that saw through Hoffman's ruse was Janine Schneider. Now, Schneider joined the cult in 1974, and although she believed Hoffman was talented with helping people, she realised that Hoffman was ultimately taking advantage of these people. Schneider, Schneider rose to executive director of conscious development, so she didn't really, you know what I mean? She took her time rising up the ranks there.
Executive director of conscious development.
Yeah.
So second in command of the colouring in team.
Pretty much. And while she was there, she learnt that Hoffman made no distinction between the company's money and her own. Hoffman would be paid donations and fees for lessons into her own personal bank account. Now, we could make an excuse that Hoffman, maybe she wasn't a great business person and she thought this was how business was done and it was the 70s. But when congregation members started to sign over their estates and unfortunate accidents would happen to them, these funds were still being paid directly into her own, like, freaking Halifax account at the fucking... You know what I mean? So alarm bells started to be raised. Another red flag for Schneider was that she was well read in philosophy. And a lot of what Hoffman was telling her students about their past lives was just basically lifted from the Britannica Encyclopedia.
I love it.
Sometimes of living people. So Hoffman's there talking to someone, going, in your past life, you were this, this, and this. And it's like, they were only born, like, 50 years ago.
8 years ago.
Yeah, they've not died yet. There's no D on this. There's just a B, 1925. There's no D on it. I don't understand.
That's some kind of H.H. Holmes bullshit. That's what he did in court, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was like, I murdered these 20-odd people. Like, they're fucking sat in the courtroom. What are you on about?
Exactly. He was
like,
I killed
alive.
him. I killed him. I don't know what he's doing here.
I killed him dead. He must be a ghost.
God, he's got the same coloured nails as a Trier has.
Dead person nails.
So, what Hoffman would also do as well is when she was doing these readings, she'd have the person hold up a tinted piece of plastic and shine a torch at that person. So then all the people who were watching this reading, their face was the person behind the plastic, their face was obscured. So she could basically say, his face has magically changed into this old wise man from days of yore. So,
but nobody could see.
Yeah. Just because they've got this warped piece of plastic, which you couldn't see their features anyway. And she got, I can see his face. Look, doesn't he look Chinese there? Oh, doesn't he look like Mao Zedong? Oh, I tell you. It's him.
That's like holding up a sheet and going, and now I'm invisible.
They may
Nobody
as well,
come behind this.
Yeah, they may as well have done that party game where you get a Rizzler and write a name on it and stick it on your forehead. And just, do you know what I mean? You have to guess who they are. Yeah.
I do. That must be the Manchester version.
Post-it
note.
Yeah, post-it note.
What are you wasting Rizzlers for?
Colours there. So, by 1977, Hoffman had between 25 and 40 members designated as elite teachers. These people would fill in for Hoffman. They would lead teachings. They would go round when Hoffman couldn't really be asked. And they'd be espousing all her fucking crazy things. But Hoffman would always be there in spirit. The teachers would always comment about her and the students would always know she was kind of looking over her. She'd always be there like that turd that cannot be flushed. She would be there. Now, from these elite teachers, Hoffman would create an inner circle of followers that she would use to fight the Black Lord. So the Black Lords were entities that existed on different planes of existence. Amazingly enough, only Hoffman could see these.
Of course. But then again,
Yeah.
isn't she the only one that can see the different planes of existence? So even if anybody could see the Black Lords, they couldn't anyway, because that would mean they would have to see the different planes of existence, which they can't see.
Exactly. But what she would do is she would dangle the carrot to all these people who were fighting these battles, saying, if you reach a higher plane, you'll be able to see these one day. You just need to keep donating. You just need to keep fighting. You just need to keep paying me money. And then one day, you'll be able to see these completely not made up things that I know what they look like. Oh, they're scary. Ooh.
Isn't that what they say Scientology's like?
Let's not get into that.
You want to move your way up, you've got to give us more money. Isn't that
Yeah.
what it's supposed to be like?
Yeah, pretty much. So for these fights, which they pretty much were, anyway, they
were made up.
Yeah. So basically, she would ask her disciples to bring in swords to fight the Dark Lords. Now, they didn't have to be like fully fledged Sting replicas from the Lord of the Rings that they bought at the comic book shop. They could just be like a token thing, so they could bring in cocktail sticks, and because obviously
ain't no one winning any battles with a cocktail stick.
But it's a cocktail stick in this world, but in the next plane, it is a mighty sword. It is that one that killed Sauron, whatever it was that Aragorn had.
You mean Aragorn's sword?
Reforged, yeah.
Oh, the sword of the king.
Yeah.
Sorry,
exactly.
I'm swooning over Aragorn, not the sword of the king. They're both, actually.
Well, yeah, indeed. It depends what sword you talk about. Anyway.
Both.
Yeah. So she also asked that the group brought in capes as well. So it turned into a fully fledged Dungeon and Dragons, like, fucking night in, really. But apparently
Boss.
Yeah. What each of these people would represent is they represent an angel. So one person would be Gabriel, one person would be Michael, and then in the other plane, they were Bob fucking Jones in this life, but on the next plane, because they were wearing the cape, they were wielding this sword, they were the Archangel Gabriel. They were...
So, it was like the cape was a deal breaker. Like, you could bring your cocktail stick, but if you didn't bring no cape, you were out of the gang.
Oh yeah, your cape had to be a real size. It couldn't just be a cocktail napkin that you like just put in the back of your thing. Like, oh.
I bet they all look like a right set of twats.
Yeah.
Waving their cocktail sticks around with their tablecloths attached to their necks.
You can only fucking imagine, can't you? Jesus Christ, I mean...
All the housewives in the area just kind of like... as they close their blinds.
Yeah. So Hoffman used these fights and the fact that she was the only one who knew how the fights went, because she was the only one that could see the damage that these people were doing to the Dark Lords. She kept the group on their toes. There would be emergency meetings at the drop of a hat to fight Dark Lords. She would also use these fights as a confidence trick, like every time claiming that, oh, this week you killed X amount of Dark Lords, but next week they may come back more, and you need to be more prepared. So
what did they have to
buy
do?
my jewellery.
Okay, that's fair. So they've got their little cocktail stick and they've got their cape and they look like an absolute dick. But do they what? Do they then have to act it out and like jab away, or do they just stand there and just represent this other being?
Yeah, this isn't some fucking... It's not a LARP. They're not in the park doing this. They're just sat meditating with a cape on. They've always got to be wearing the cape. And with their cocktail stick next to them. And Hoffman is at the head of them. And she's going...
I can't hear you.
And Hoffman, hello.
I can hear you now. No, I can hear you now.
All right, fine. Yeah. So
Sorry, reverse.
it's all right. It was me. I was looking at the wrong thing. I could see the green, but because I was live, it wasn't green on there. Anyway, never mind. So basically, they'd all be
It's gone
meditating,
Right.
wearing their capes, because that's how you meditate. They'd have their cocktail sticks next to them, and Hoffman would be either sat at the group or walking round, and she'd be saying, "Oh my God, well done, Bob. You as the Archangel Gabriel, you've just killed, smoted 3 Black Lords. Well done, you." So she was the
I
only
love
one.
it.
So these people were in a state of meditation, and they were reaching the higher plane, they thought, but they were just basically like dozing on the floor, and Hoffman was giving a running commentary to something that they couldn't see. But they believed it for some fucking reason. I mean, yeah. So, she always used it as like you've killed this many Dark Lords, but next week they'll be back and there'll be more. So you need to buy more jewelry, or you need to have more students come in. It's like a pyramid scheme, basically. Now, sometimes she would even turn round and say, because someone in the group who maybe had fallen out of favour had brought the Dark Lords in with their bad juju. So then
Did they have to give more money?
Well, that person wouldn't be really invited back, but there would kind of be a hate campaign towards that person. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what's the point of that though? Because if you kind of turf them out, they're not giving you any more money.
So, narcissism. So,
Alright,
basically,
okay.
read into that. If someone had said something bad about Hoffman and she didn't like it, or if she'd overheard a conversation about someone, she'd go, "They're fucking next. Right, having them." And then that's why. But it was a revolving door. There were lots of bored housewives coming in and out doing this kind of shit. 70s in Texas, innit? So, as the months and years went on, there would be several members of the congregation that would die under mysterious circumstances. Yet, they'd all leave their fortune to Hoffman. So,
Weird.
yeah, I mean, coincidences? Fool me once,
I
shame
don't
on
believe in
you.
coincidences.
Yeah. So, that is going to be part 2. We'll have a little delve into... Well, basically, we'll have a little delve into what happened and how it happened. But at this point in time, we'll call it there. And thank you so much for joining us. This has been the MO Podcast with me, Consummation Sam.
And me, Atreya.
And we shall see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast. The MO Podcast.